Deep within the rugged terrains of the Colorado Rockies, hidden beneath layers of reinforced concrete and electromagnetic shielding, lay Project Vector, humanity's most secretive research facility. Officially, it was listed as a geological survey station. Unofficially, it was where humanity's brightest minds bent the laws of physics to their will. Dr. Evelyn Carter, the project's lead physicist, paced anxiously in front of an assembly of scientists and military personnel. Her lab coat was streaked with soot, her hair a disheveled mess, signs of countless sleepless nights. Behind her, a holographic display projected two objects, a sleek railgun prototype labeled ARG-X2, and a shimmering device labeled FTL teleporter. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "These are the pinnacles of our technological advancement. And they represent two very different futures for humanity." The hologram flickered, zooming in on the teleporter. It was elegant in design, a compact device surrounded by glowing coils of energy. "The teleporter," Evelyn continued, "has the potential to revolutionize human civilization. Instantaneous transport across vast distances could end global supply chain issues, famine, even poverty." A murmur of awe rippled through the room. But Evelyn's expression remained grim as the projection shifted to the railgun. It was a stark contrast to the teleporter, a hulking weapon of destruction that seemed to defy human engineering. Its sleek frame housed a labyrinth of superconductors and magnetic coils. "And this," she said, gesturing to the railgun, "is the ARG-X2. Capable of firing a tungsten slug at velocities exceeding 12 kilometers per second, it's the deadliest weapon ever conceived by man." The murmurs turned uneasy. General Marcus Hayes, a grizzled veteran with a no-nonsense demeanor, leaned forward in his chair. "Dr. Carter, I think I speak for everyone here when I ask, why are we developing these technologies side by side? Shouldn't we prioritize the teleporter over another weapon?" Evelyn's jaw tightened. "That was the original plan, General. But priorities changed the moment we detected the Diveran signal." The room fell silent. Everyone present knew about the Diveran signal. Discovered 5 years ago, it was an encoded transmission originating from deep space. Its content, a chilling message in a language eerily similar to ancient Earth dialects, had been deciphered only months ago. "Prepare. We are coming." Evelyn tapped a button, and the hologram shifted to a star map. Red markers indicated the locations of unidentified objects accelerating toward Earth. Based on their trajectory and speed, these ships will arrive within 2 years. The teleporter is a dream for the future. The railgun? That's survival now. Meanwhile, high above Earth, on the ISS Artemis, the first prototype of the ARG-X2 was being prepped for testing. The station's crew, led by Commander Julia Vargas, was buzzing with anticipation. The railgun had been mounted on the station's exterior, its sleek frame glinting in the sunlight. "Final diagnostics complete," reported Lieutenant Kevin Moore, his voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "We're ready to fire." Julia nodded. "Let's make history, people." The target was a defunct satellite orbiting thousands of kilometers away. The railgun's coils hummed with power as the tungsten slug was loaded into its chamber. With a deafening crack, the projectile tore through the void, striking the satellite with pinpoint accuracy. The impact obliterated the target, sending shards of metal spiraling into space. Cheers erupted on the Artemis. But Julia's elation was short-lived. On her monitor, a new alert flashed: unidentified object detected. Back on Earth, Evelyn's communicator buzzed urgently. She glanced at the message, her face draining of color. "What is it?" General Hayes demanded. Evelyn looked up, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're here." The ISS Artemis's observation deck shimmered with the pale blue glow of Earthlight as Commander Julia Vargas studied the telemetry feed. On the monitor, an unidentified object moved steadily toward Earth, a massive craft, nearly a kilometer in length, its liquid metal hull refracting the surrounding starlight like ripples on a pond. "It's not responding to our hails," Lieutenant Kevin Moore said, his voice betraying unease. "Any sign of weapons systems?" Julia asked, her eyes locked on the screen. "None visible," Moore replied, "but a ship that size doesn't need to advertise its capabilities." Julia nodded. "Keep monitoring. And patch me through to Earth." Inside the Pentagon's war room, Dr. Evelyn Carter and General Marcus Hayes stood amidst a storm of activity. Technicians scurried to adjust displays while officers barked out commands. The room fell silent as Julia's voice crackled through the comms. "We have visual confirmation," Julia reported. "It's enormous." Evelyn stepped closer to the monitor. "Maintain a safe distance, Commander. Do not provoke them." "Understood," Julia replied. "But they've noticed us." The Artemis's external cameras captured the alien ship as it began to shift. A pulse of energy rippled across its hull, and a smaller craft, a perfect sphere lined with pulsating lights, detached and moved toward the station. "They're sending something," Julia said. "Permission to engage?" Evelyn hesitated. "Hold fire. Let's see what they do." The smaller craft hovered 100 meters from the Artemis. Its surface glowed faintly, emitting a rhythmic hum that resonated through the station's hull. Without warning, a beam of light emerged, scanning the Artemis from bow to stern. "We're being scanned," Moore reported. "No apparent damage, but I don't like this." "Arm the railgun," Julia ordered. In the Pentagon, Evelyn watched the live feed with bated breath. The decision to fire the railgun could set the tone for humanity's relationship with this alien force, but inaction could be even more dangerous. "Evelyn," General Hayes said, his voice low and firm, "we need to be ready. If this turns hostile." "I know," Evelyn interrupted, her eyes never leaving the screen. On board the Artemis, the railgun's coils hummed to life, casting an eerie blue glow throughout the station. Julia's finger hovered over the trigger. Then, the alien sphere emitted a series of rapid flashes, its lights flickering in a deliberate pattern. "Is that a signal?" Moore asked, squinting at the screen. Evelyn's voice broke through the comms. "Wait. That's Morse code. They're trying to communicate." The room erupted into action as linguists scrambled to decode the sequence. Minutes later, the translation came through. "We seek dialogue. Lower your weapon." Julia hesitated, her finger trembling on the trigger. Lowering the weapon could be seen as an act of trust, or an invitation to be destroyed. "Commander," Evelyn's voice was calm but resolute. "Stand down. Let's hear them out." Julia took a deep breath. "Disengage the railgun." The coils powered down, and the sphere drifted closer. Moments later, new lights blinked across its surface, spelling out another message. "Prepare for an envoy." The Artemis crew braced for what would come next, humanity's first encounter poised on a knife's edge. The atmosphere aboard the ISS Artemis was tense. Every crewmember's eyes were locked on the alien sphere, which hovered silently just outside the observation deck. Its surface shimmered, reflecting the cold expanse of space, as though contemplating its next move. "Telemetry stable," Lieutenant Kevin Moore reported. "No sudden energy spikes. Whatever envoy they're planning, it's not weaponized yet." "Yet," Commander Julia Vargas muttered. She tapped her comlink. "Artemis to Earth. The sphere has ceased communication. Still awaiting their envoy." In the Pentagon, Dr. Evelyn Carter and General Hayes stood shoulder to shoulder, staring at the live feed. The alien sphere had begun to emit a faint blue light, growing in intensity. "They're building energy," Evelyn said, narrowing her eyes. "Could be a signal, or an attack." "Commander Vargas," Hayes barked through the comms, "stay on alert. If that thing so much as twitches the wrong way." He didn't finish. The sphere's light intensified into a blinding flash, and suddenly, an alien figure materialized in the Artemis's observation deck. The crew gasped. The figure stood over 8 feet tall, humanoid but distinctly alien. Its body was encased in shimmering, segmented armor, each piece pulsating faintly with energy. Its face was hidden behind a smooth, featureless helmet, except for two glowing slits where eyes might have been. "Everyone hold your positions," Julia commanded, her voice cutting through the shock. She stepped forward cautiously, her hand resting on the sidearm at her hip. The alien raised an arm, and the crew tensed, ready to act. But instead of attacking, it spoke. Its voice was a low, resonant hum, words forming in an unfamiliar language. A small device on its chest emitted a series of clicks and whirs before the words transformed into understandable English. "We are the Daveran. Your weapons are unnecessary." Julia's fingers twitched. That's funny, coming from someone who just beamed aboard uninvited. The Daveran tilted its head, an eerily human gesture. "Your hostility is expected. We seek dialogue, but your railgun's activation speaks of your true nature." In the Pentagon, Evelyn leaned closer to the screen. "We didn't fire," she murmured. "What's their angle?" The alien continued. "Your advancements in destructive technology are noted. Such innovation surpasses even our initial projections. It is why your species has been marked." "Marked?" Julia repeated, her voice sharp. "For eradication." The room erupted into chaos. Before Julia could react, the Daveran raised its arm again, this time emitting a pulse of energy. The blast disabled the station's artificial gravity, sending the crew floating helplessly. "Artemis, respond." Hayes's voice thundered over the comms, but Julia couldn't answer. She grabbed a nearby railing, her mind racing. "More, manual override," she shouted, struggling to stabilize herself. "I'm on it." Moore yelled back, wrestling with the controls. The Daveran turned toward the nearest crew member, extending a glowing hand. The air crackled with energy. "No!" Julia roared, drawing her sidearm and firing. The projectile ricocheted harmlessly off the alien's armor, but it was enough to distract it. The Daveran shifted its attention to her, its eyes glowing brighter. "Your resistance is futile," it intoned. Julia's comlink buzzed, Evelyn's voice cutting through the chaos. "Vargas, listen to me. You need to eject the alien immediately. The Artemis's railgun is still functional /U-2014. You can use it to neutralize the sphere and the mothership." Julia gritted her teeth. "You're asking me to fire on a target this close? We'll be caught in the blast. Do you have a better idea?" Evelyn shot back. On Earth, technicians worked frantically to realign the railgun's targeting systems. Meanwhile, the alien mothership began deploying smaller crafts, each one bristling with weaponry. "They're mobilizing," Hayes growled. "We need to act now." Evelyn nodded. "Commander Vargas, you're running out of time. Make the call." On the Artemis, Julia braced herself. The Daveran advanced, its voice echoing ominously. "Your defiance seals your fate." "More, are the targeting systems online?" Julia called. "Almost," he shouted. "Just a few more seconds." Those seconds felt like an eternity. The Daveran raised its arm again, a sphere of crackling energy forming at its palm. "Now or never, Commander." Evelyn's voice was urgent. Julia didn't hesitate. She activated the emergency decompression protocol, ejecting the alien envoy and the sphere back into space. The sudden force sent the Artemis spinning, but the railgun's targeting system locked on. "Fire the railgun," Julia shouted. The Artemis's coils hummed with power, and the tungsten slug launched with devastating force. The projectile ripped through the alien sphere, shattering it into fragments before continuing its trajectory toward the mothership. The impact was catastrophic. The mothership's shields flickered and failed as the slug tore through its hull. Explosions rippled across the massive vessel, forcing the remaining alien crafts to retreat. In the aftermath, the Artemis stabilized, its crew shaken but alive. On Earth, cheers erupted in the Pentagon, but Evelyn and Hayes exchanged grim looks. This was just a scout force, Hayes said quietly. They'll be back. Evelyn nodded. And next time, they'll come prepared. Julia's voice crackled through the comms. Earth, this is Artemis. Target neutralized. But we're going to need more than railguns if we want to survive what's coming. Evelyn's jaw tightened. We'll be ready. The message was clear, humanity had won this battle, but the war was only beginning. The remains of the Diveran mothership drifted silently through space, its once imposing form reduced to glowing debris. On board the ISS Artemis, Commander Julia Vargas steadied herself as the artificial gravity systems re-engaged. The silence that followed the battle was suffocating, broken only by the crackle of damaged equipment and the labored breathing of her crew. Damage report, Julia demanded, her voice tight. Lieutenant Kevin Moore, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead, responded from his console. Hull integrity at 70%. Power systems stable. Railgun offline for repairs. He hesitated. We lost external communications during the blast. Julia swore under her breath. What about casualties? Moore's jaw clenched. 3 injured. No fatalities. A flicker of relief crossed Julia's face, but it was short-lived. The alien encounter had left its mark, not just on the Artemis, but on humanity's perception of its place in the cosmos. Back on Earth, the Pentagon war room was buzzing with activity. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood in the center, surrounded by engineers, scientists, and military strategists all talking at once. The live feed from the Artemis had cut out moments after the railgun fired, and everyone feared the worst. Finally, the comms crackled to life. Julia's voice broke through the static. This is Commander Vargas. Target neutralized. The Artemis is operational but heavily damaged. We're alive. Cheers erupted across the room, but General Marcus Hayes raised a hand, silencing the celebration. Commander Vargas, he said, his tone grave, what's your assessment of the situation? Julia's response was curt. The Diveran envoy was a test. They underestimated us. They won't make that mistake again. Evelyn stepped forward. Commander, did the alien communicate anything before the attack? Any information we can use? Julia hesitated. They said we'd been marked for eradication because of our weapon advancements. They see us as a threat. The room fell silent. They're right, Hayes said finally, his voice filled with grim resolve. And now, they know we can fight back. In the weeks that followed, humanity scrambled to prepare for the inevitable retaliation. Across the globe, factories pivoted to produce more railguns, orbital platforms, and advanced defense systems. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair and upgrade the Artemis, while scientists like Evelyn Carter pored over the alien technology salvaged from the Diveran debris. Evelyn's team made a groundbreaking discovery. Embedded within the wreckage of the alien sphere was a fragment of Diveran memory code, a digital blueprint of their technological evolution. It revealed how the Diveran had prioritized energy-based weaponry over all else, believing kinetic technology like railguns to be primitive. This arrogance had left them vulnerable to humanity's unexpected ingenuity. Funny, isn't it? Evelyn mused during a briefing with Hayes. They underestimated us because they thought our weapons were outdated. But that same outdated technology destroyed their ship. Hayes crossed his arms. So, what's next? Do we double down on railguns? Evelyn shook her head. No. We build smarter. Stronger. If the Diveran return, we'll need more than brute force. It's time to revisit the teleporter project. Months later, the Artemis was relaunched, this time equipped with upgraded defenses and experimental teleportation technology. Julia stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars with a mixture of determination and unease. Feels strange, doesn't it? Moore said, approaching her. Heading back out after everything that happened. Julia nodded. Strange, but necessary. If the Diveran return, we need to be ready, not just to defend, but to survive. As the Artemis ventured into the void, humanity's message to the galaxy was clear: Earth was no longer a backwater planet to be conquered. It was a force to be reckoned with, capable of adapting and thriving in the face of cosmic threats. But Julia couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The Diveran weren't the only ones watching. Somewhere out there, other civilizations were taking note of humanity's rapid rise, and preparing their own responses. In the Diveran Council's stronghold, light years away, a holographic projection of Earth flickered before the alien leaders. The destruction of their scout fleet was undeniable, but so was the potential of humanity's weaponry. "They are dangerous," one counselor hissed, its segmented armor glowing faintly. "But they are also resourceful. Perhaps we underestimated their value." Another counselor leaned forward, its tone contemplative. "Indeed. Perhaps eradication is premature. Humanity could be useful." The council fell silent, their collective decision lingering in the air like an unspoken threat. Back on Earth, humanity pressed forward, unaware that their fight for survival had just begun.